I always want to train somebody to be my replacement. You know what? I hope that I train them and they end up better than I am, because I'm just going to sit back and be proud that they made it better than I am.
Hey everyone, it's Jeff at Opus IBS. Today we're with Shane. He is an area vice president here in the Southeast at a collision center, and we're going to talk to Shane about why collision is hard. So what kind of issues have you ran into when it comes to recruiting technicians? I hear from a lot of shops that I go to that there's a technician shortage, and I know the generations are changing a little bit. So how are you combating that?
The biggest thing we're doing to combat it is one, just building that reputation, where people want to come here. Two, the employees that we have, doing the most we can to retain our employees. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that we're doing is, because there's so many of your older generation that's retiring out of the business and getting out of the business now, and fewer people wanting to get in, so we're taking an approach to where we're trying to get more younger people that little to no experience. And what we do is, we're basically building an apprentice program, something that we've been pushing to do hard here lately, to where we put them with a seasoned technician. They get paid, an hourly rate, and basically can learn while they, are getting paid. And the thing is, if you put them with the right technician, somebody that is going to do the job right, then you teach them those good habits, and to me, it's just, the way I learned, was that same way, having to learn and do those things. And to me, I think it builds for a great technician. There's nothing wrong with the guys that go to a community college. In fact, I've got 2 of the technicians that are here actually came from the community college background. My son, who was a technician for our company, he went through community college first. But, I do think, even though he got the basic education in school, just like the other 2 did, I think if you asked every one of them, they learned more the first year that they were actually in a shop, right, than they did, in the 2 years that they went to school for it. And that's not to put down. I think that they got some great bones and the great fundamentals, and probably the technical side of things that you don't get hands-on in the shop. But I think as far as the, whether it's doing mud work or whether it's doing any of that, there's a lot of that you can't compensate for just repetition of doing. I can read about how to do this all day long, but the way you get good at it is that repetition.
Right. And I ran into that when I would hire guys out of UTI, right? They would go to UTI through, maybe the Ford program or something, but then they ultimately wanted to get into Audi or Volkswagen. They jumped out for a job. Those guys were smart, book smart, but when you put the wrench in their hand, it was a completely different story. Is that kind of what you see when they come out of the community college, or not so much? Because you did say after they've worked here for a year, they've learned more in this year than maybe they learned in 2 years at a community college.
That's exactly what I'm seeing, and I do think that it's great that they're getting that education side of it, as far as knowing the technical side. I was lucky to where whenever I went to work as a paint rep, that helped teach me a lot of the technical side that I might not have known, otherwise. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things, I can tell you that you add this hardener to this paint and this is what it's going to do. Yeah. But unless you truly understand, to most painters, it doesn't matter why it does, it just does. Right. But, it is good to know, why does this work and how does this work? And, I think if you truly want to continue to grow, there's nothing wrong with knowing that side of it too. Right. If it's something that you want to work as a technician your whole life, then it doesn't matter why it does what it does, it's going to do. Right. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of the answers I couldn't tell you and don't know, but I'm not scared to tell somebody, you know what, I'm not sure, let's go look it up, or let me go talk to somebody
that might know.
Look, I've been in this business for 32 years. And I still learn something new from somebody every single day. And I hope I never stop learning, But yeah, so that's the way we're really working with it. And we've actually talked about even doing some recruiting at some of these community colleges. Mm-hmm. I do think that the more we show these younger generation now, or the people getting started in it, that we want to be there for them and want to help them to succeed and teach them on the right path, I think those are the people that stay loyal. The reason I made the move from the company that I was at to where I'm at now, it wasn't that I was unhappy where I was. The thing that stood out to me about this particular shop whenever I came here is I've got 2 technicians that have been here the entire 7 years this shop has been here. Another one that's been here 6. I've got another one that's been here 6. I've got one that's been here 3, and that's only because that's when he got out of school and came to work for us.
And they're debt free.
And exactly. And then I've got
they didn't spend money to go to school. They have no student loans.
And then I've got one that's been here for about a year that we hired on as a mechanic just to try to expand some. So, but the fact that we had technicians that had been here and stayed here, to me, that was the first thing that, you know, man, they're doing something right if they're able to, you know, because in today's world, in the body world, you've got so many of your shops now that, you know, especially your big corporate shops that are throwing $5,000 sign-on bonuses and $3,000 sign-on bonuses. And you've got guys that are going here for this bonus, and then they're going to stay there however long to fulfill that, and then they're going to jump to the next one with a bonus.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Yeah.
And you know, so the fact that we've been able to retain people in this market, that is probably one of my proudest accomplishments right now, is knowing that, you know what, I've got guys that are so happy to be here that they're staying here. And, you know, and it shows whenever we bring a new technician in and get somebody started and they see that atmosphere and they see that, you know, that's been the key that we're using to try to get these newer people on, you know, and they come here because it feels like a family to them.
And it should. You should like going to work every day.
And those are, you know, that's probably my key to success with building the employees that I've built in the shops is, you know, showing them that you're not just coming here to be a number. We want you to come here to be a part of a team and truly, you know, be a part of a team. The word's always been, we hire to retire.
Right. Gotcha. So when it comes to subletting jobs or using remote services like Opus, does that help fill in the gap with technician shortages?
It definitely does. You know, it provides us that service to get things continue moving along. You know, we try to obviously keep as much in-house as we can, but like before we had our mechanic here, there were some jobs that I could have had one of my technicians do, but at the same time, if it's something that I had something that they could do faster, sometimes it was easier to sublet something out.
Sure.
You know, we are trying to continue to build and transition to where we're doing less things outside than we are in. But I mean, sometimes you have to use what you do to fill the void, because, you know, the end game is to make sure the car's fixed properly and to get it back to them in a timely manner. And sometimes, as much as I'd like for something to sit here for a week before my guy can get to it, if I can get that customer back in their car quicker by calling someone, then, you know, we just have to do what we have to do, because as much as I want to make as much money in this shop as I can, the end game is to keep the customer happy, get them in their vehicle as long as they can.
Right.
Keep your insurance partners happy.
Right.
I mean, because as long as you get that reputation, even if you have to do it at a lesser profit by having somebody sublet it out, then it brings more revenue in the end.
See, that's the cool thing about your shop is that, or your shops, is that you guys are embracing the remote services, right? You're taking it, you know, you're using them to their fullest capability. A lot of shops I go to, they don't even want to deal with it. I'll just call the guy. I don't have time for this. I'm just going to call the guy. So I find that very unique about, you know, this shop.
Well, it's really done good for us. And you know, I'm very lucky that I've got several of my technicians that whenever we first, you know, went to doing the different scans and different things, they really have taken a liking to it and, you know, have wanted to grow and learn to do more and more with the tool.
Yeah, just the 2 of them earlier. The one guy, he was talking about the glass. He wants to know how to use drive safe for calibrations. The other one, he was, oh yeah, I want the trihedrils, bring them in, you know. Right. So that's good that your guys, they want to learn, right?
And that's that, you know, that mentality we were talking about earlier is, you know, getting those guys that that want to, I mean, because you saw they're both very young guys that, came into this business and have learned. One of the gentlemen, the one that was talking about the glass earlier, he got started in this business, I think 4 years ago, absolutely green, didn't know nothing about it, but he is now a very solid A-Tech, and, I wouldn't be scared to have him cut up in anything, one of these cars, and do whatever needed to be done.
Yeah.
But it's because he went into it with that mentality of he wanted to learn. He was hungry. He wanted to grow, and he has done a wonderful job. One thing that I try to do that I think has really helped out too, because I came from that technician background, everybody in the shop knows I keep a spare set of clothes in my office. If it's something that they're struggling with or they're trying to learn or something they want to do that they've never done before,
you're out here.
I have no problem getting out here and let's
awesome.
work on it together, because that's that mind frame of they know that they have that backing, that somebody that's willing to teach them and work with them, even if it takes us longer to get this first one done. But it's knowledge that they can get faster on from that point on.
Yeah.
And that's, everybody has their own approach. That to me is what helped me to be successful in this business, because I'm not scared to teach and learn.
Right.
I joke, whether it's my managers now that are under me or whether it was my estimators that were under me whenever I was a manager, I always want to train somebody to be my replacement. You know what? I hope that I train them and they end up better than I am, because I'm just going to sit back and be proud that they made it better than I am.
Right.
And I think my guys will also tell you that I definitely push people very hard. I'm definitely that person that if I see that they have a potential, I'm not going to be happy whenever they're doing B work.
Right.
I'm going to push them for their fullest potential. And every time I've ever done it, they might not like it whenever I'm pushing, but afterward they'll look back and,
there's a reason for it.
Oh man, I'm glad you did now.
Yeah. Yep.
But we've just got to work with these guys. I think there's so many people in this industry with these new guys that unfortunately want to take the approach of, I don't want to take the time to have to teach nobody this. That's not the mentality we need. I mean, we've got to be willing to show these guys how to do this. If anything, I miss turning the wrenches and doing the work.
I do too. From time to time. I miss being in the shop environment myself.
Unfortunately, I've got 3 herniated discs in my back. So my days of doing a lot of bending and all that just got to where it was getting harder and harder to do. And, so
it's hard on the body for sure.
But, I have all the respect in the world for what they're doing, but a lot of it comes because I've been there doing what they're doing. Those guys being happy and working together, that is the key to all the success in the world.
Right. I think that's big too, that, you started out where you did, got to where you're at. And I think me as a technician, if I seen that at the dealership, because at the dealership level of things, you'd have a service director of the service department, but he never wrenched. He only maybe was an advisor or, an estimator to the customer coming in. So for me, that was, as if he doesn't understand what's going on in the shop, you do. So that's big. That's big.
And there's nothing wrong with either side of it. I have always thought, like, I came from the wrenching side of things. We've got some managers in this company, or even people at my level, that never did the actual body work, but they're really good at the office side of things.
No, I agree.
And I think it takes that perfect combination. It's no different than, I've got a huge toolbox at my house, but at the same time, it's not about having all the tools. It's about knowing which place to use which tool.
Right.
And I think having those 2 different tools to work together, I think is a great thing. But to me, I definitely identify more with the technicians, and I think it's been the key to helping to bring those technicians in.
Right.
Whenever I've gone and interviewed somebody, if I take them out to dinner or something and we sit down and we're talking and they realize that, I can talk to them and relate to them about the situation they're in.
Right.
It's really gone a long way with helping to recruit some of those guys.
Right.
In,
and that's not to take away to say, I didn't have good service directors at the dealership level that maybe only wrote estimates or, tickets, ROs, for the shop. I had a few that were good, but I had more respect for the ones that came up from the shop.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe went to being an advisor and then made their way into GMs because they understood the whole service flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, a lot of the ones that I did have, because it was a revolving door with GMs and service managers and stuff, the ones that, didn't come from the shop level that had the position that they had, they just didn't seem to jive too well with the technicians. So I think that's great that, you coming from where you came from, you understand them and what they're going through.
And I mean, I've always told everybody that's ever worked for me, if I've got a car that I need to go out that day, I've seen a lot of guys come out there and, hey, I need you to get this done. I've got to have this done today. I need you to get it done. I can't stand that mentality. I'm going to take the approach of, I'm going to go out there, hey, we need to get this done today. What can I do to help you?
Right.
And you know what? They might say, hey, I've got it. Don't worry about it. But if they say that there's anything I can do to help them, I'm not scared to get in there and get dirty. And it's that respect of knowing that, I'm not too good to do anything in this shop. I mean, I'm no better than you are. Mm-hmm. It takes everything that you do and everything that I do and everything that every estimator in the shop does to all work. So we all have to be willing to pitch in and show that we can work together and help each other out. And I think if you can build that mentality and build that mindset with your people, like I said, once you get that person in the door and they see that, they're not jumping ship to go to that guy because they can get the sign-on bonus here.
Right.
They're going to stay here because they enjoy coming through that door every day.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody, that's going to sum up today's interview with Shane. I hope you guys all found this informative. If you got any questions, come see us at opusivs.com.